So today I'll be talking about the 5 main ethical practices in international businesses that are very common. Those are employment practices, human rights, environmental pollution, corruption, and more obligations. So to start off, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act actually prohibits U.S. companies from bribing foreign officials with the purpose to gain for their business opportunities. And then the OECD has made steps because they had a convention where they try to make international business transactions that use bribery into a criminal offense, or actually just promote that idea. So an example of a company that used bribery is Daimler, and an example of this is they did $25,000 to Shell organization in Texas to launder money to the wife of a Chinese official. And then they also overcharged for commercial vehicles on invoices, and then they gave that money to Russian officials. So this is about 1.9 billion sales of vehicles that they laundered money through. And the problem was that the audit, finance, and legal departments, they didn't halt or stop this laundering, so it showed that the company itself was unethical and they needed a different corporate culture overall. Corruption can allow companies to have that economic advantage, like through paying off government officials, because corruption doesn't really have boundaries. So to me, it is a form of corruption and equality that's formed through briberies, but the reason that Daimler felt the need to do it was for economic benefit and to differentiate itself in the market, as Chrysler was a big competitor and they were just trying to grow their market, and this seemed like the best way for them to do so, even though it was unethical. To see if it was a necessary evil, I don't think it was. The company was too focused on the efficiency that these bribes would bring to it and the increased revenue. In international trade and globalization, it's important to grow and develop relationships, and using corruption in one country can hurt relationships with other countries because they can dislike the bribery or even want more bribery, and it can make the company even more unethical. In the video we had to watch, Daimler actually talked about coming in at 8:30 and leaving at 5 in Indonesia to get his application completed, and this really showed his patience, and that really needs to be formed in a corporate culture, to know that patience is needed, because it can be a motivation to be unethical if you're in a rush to want something or your drive is so big for that goal. Also, Silvio Berlusconi, he used to be the Italian Prime Minister, I believe, and he discussed how those are rules in that country, and so a commissioner bribe has to be paid, but there still are ethical boundaries around it. So some people see it as a necessary evil, but I don't believe it was in this case for Daimler. And then an assessment in Australia actually showed that for every dollar that a company used in bribes, it received like $11 of value. So this was only the businesses were caught, but it does show that motivation that Daimler probably had to be unethical. And in order to make a company more ethical, organizations do need to focus more on corporate social responsibility. And I'm excited about this topic because I'm actually interning in the corporate social responsibility department at West Pharmaceuticals currently. By training their employees to be more philanthropic and ethical, the human resources department can actually focus on recruiting people with these values so that they're bringing it into the company. And they need to think about how their actions will affect stakeholders overall, and bribery and corruption couldn't hurt the investment of stakeholders. And corporate social responsibility affects the social consequences of a company's economic decisions and business strategies. So a strong corporate culture needs to be developed so that they don't lose consumer basis. Carroll's pyramid of infrastructure of responsibilities contains economical, legal, ethical, and philanthropic sections, which is crucial to the infrastructure of a company, and they shouldn't be separated. And the ethical and philanthropic endeavors are actually what really grows it and differentiates it from other companies, because ethics aren't really required, but they are expected more by society today, so you don't want to lose that client and consumer base. So that's it. Thank you.